Hi, and in this video we're going to explain what happens when we divide. Now when I ask this in a classroom, nearly always my students will say, well, the number's going to get smaller. So whatever we're starting with, we divide it by something and the answer is smaller. So we're going to look at this and I'm going to hopefully prove to you that that's not always true. So let's have a look. So let's think of a fairly straightforward division, which is 20 divided by 5, and that's how we'd write it mathematically. But we could also write it like that, and perhaps in different ways. But let's just look at those two, because they're probably the main ways that we use. And then let's think about it in language, because I think the language is going to really help us to understand this. So we could say, what is 20 divided by 5? Another way of putting it is, how many times does 5 go into 20? And that's quite a useful one because it links it in to multiplication. We're using the word times. And we know that multiplication and division are opposite. So there's definitely a connection there, which we might want to explore more at some point. And then finally, I'm going to use this statement, which I think is probably going to give the most clarity, make it the most clear for you. How many 5s can we get out of 20? So let's see. Here's 20 circles, and what we're going to do is see how many 5s we can get out of this 20. And because division is all about splitting something up into whatever given number it is. So there's our first 5, so that's 1. There's another 5, that's 2. There's another 5, that's 3. And there's another 5, so that's 4. So we can see that 20 divided by 5 equals 4. There are no leftovers. It goes in very nicely. It splits up exactly into 4 lots of 5. Good. And if we look at this answer, then it certainly does seem that you take this number, you divide it by something, and the answer is smaller. So now let's try and find an example where that's not true. Let's take something else that's probably a quite straightforward sum. 20 divided by 1. So that literally means how many 1s can we get out of 20? Well, let's have a look. The answer, I'm pretty sure you know, is 20, but let's see why. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5. So we've got 5 on that line, which means we've got another 5 on that line. Oops, sorry, and then another 5 on that line and another 5 on that line. So, and you could just count these up, and indeed, if we're just dividing into 1, then we will get 20 of them. So already we have disproved the rule because we've divided 20 and the answer is still 20. Okay, now let's move on to another example. So let's look at 20 divided by 0.5. So we're now looking at a number that is smaller than 1, less than 1. 20 divided by 0.5, and hopefully most of you will recognise 0.5 as a half, so it's like saying 20 divided by a half. And again, let's think about language. What is 20 divided by 0.5? So that's really what that is saying in mathematical language. And then we could say, how many times does a half go into 20? And again, that's referring back to multiplication. Or how about this one? How many halves can we get out of 20? So whichever one of those you want to think about, let's put it into practice. So there's our 20 again, and this time I'm breaking them all up into halves. So each one has been broken into halves, and we're going to see how many halves we get out of this 20. Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we can get 10 out of that row. And because we've got the same amount in each row, that means we can get 10 out of this row. We can get 10 out of this row. we can get 10 out of this row. So if you add those all up, 20 divided by 0.5 or 20 divided by a half is equal to 40. So there you have it. We have taken a number, we've divided it, and the answer at the end is greater than the number at the beginning. And I think the way that you need to perhaps rationalise this is think, how many of these, i.e. halves, can I get out of 20? And this is clearly showing us that there are 40 of them. And perhaps we can also see that as this number gets smaller, so if we broke it up into quarters, we'd get more and more again. So what I want you to do with this is the more or less the end of this video, but just think about it and maybe experiment or investigate with different numbers. And remember that key word, estimate. Try and estimate what you think your answer is going to be. Okay, so finally, in conclusion, what happens when we divide? Well, if we are dividing by a number greater than 1, the answer is less than our original number. When we divide by 1, the number stays the same. And when we divide by a number less than 1, the answer is greater than our original number. But don't take my word for it. You have a go and see what you can conclude. Okay, that's the end of this video.